Hi everyone, I'm Jamie Kubota from San Jose State, Nutrition, Food Science and Packaging Department. I have Kelly, my grad student and TA with me today, and we are walking through quesadillas. Seems really simple, but it's a great, very convenient, very fast snack or meal. We're going to show you how to put it together and then dress it up to make it into a full meal and squeeze in some extra veggies. So we're starting with some tortillas. And these are just little flour tortillas. You can use any tortilla. I tend to prefer flour tortillas for my quesadillas, but regular flour tortillas, whole wheat flour tortillas, if you like them, that's a great way. They make spinach tortillas, they make tomato tortillas, they make all kinds of tortillas now.
You can use a big tortilla if you want to, and cut it into pie wedges after you make it.
I tend to go to the store and I look at the tortilla section. I decide what's on sale and what I like. I do tend to buy the little ones because I like to use them for all different things. So I like to have them on hand to use them for tacos and other things. So if you need more tortilla or more quesadilla, you could make two, right? But I'm going to just show you what I do. So in order to get a nice crispy crust on a quesadilla, it's really nice to have a little oil in the pan or butter. Butter actually gives it a nice flavor. So I tend to prefer butter for my quesadillas. So I'm just going to put a really thin coat of butter on the outside of my quesadilla, of my tortilla.
For butter, really, it tastes amazing.
Yeah, and we're just using a little bit here. So there's a little butter. And then we have some shredded cheese. You could shred up cheese if you have just a block of cheese, or you can add in shredded cheese that's already shredded.
Great way to use a little leftover cheese, a little end that you've got left over,
And you can change up the flavor. So this is cheddar, but if you like pepper jack, for example, that's going to be really nice in a quesadilla.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You like a little kick.
You could do even mozzarella. So really whatever cheese you have.
You want something that melts well.
Something that melts well. Yeah. Exactly. Colby Jack melts really well. And then we have this rotisserie chicken left from cutting up our rotisserie chicken. So we're going to add some chicken. Now, if you're vegetarian, you could add beans. You could add veggies. So if you have some leftover roasted veggies, those would be lovely on here, right? And then we're going to, I actually like to add just a little bit more cheese on top of my add-in. So if I put veggies, it helps to glue, it helps to stick.
It is glue. I mean, you want the cheese to have contact with each tortilla.
And then this is ready to go.
Yep.
So another thing you can do with this, I'm gonna cook this off, we're gonna eat it now. But if you wanted to meal prep, and to get ready with extra quesadillas for later in the week. I mean, this went together really fast, but you could actually meal prep tortillas. So you could put together a couple of these, put them on a plate with a little piece of foil or plastic wrap or parchment paper in between each one. And then when you're ready for your snack, all you have to do is put it onto the skillet, right? But we're gonna go ahead and cook this off. So I'm gonna take this over to my skillet. And I've got a skillet here. And I'm doing it over kind of low to medium heat so that I can get it nice and crispy. It's going to cook the tortilla and get it nice and crispy, but also melt the cheese and warm up the ingredients that are in the middle of my quesadilla. So I tend to press down on it with a spatula.
I would imagine this is something you would never want to walk away from.
Probably not, because it actually cooks really fast, right? So this is a really nice, really convenient snack or meal, and you don't necessarily want to walk away from it because it will cook up pretty fast. So we're talking like probably a minute or two, depending on how hot your skillet is when you start them on each side to get nice and crispy. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm just kind of pressing down. You don't have to. You could just let this go.
It's actually hard to resist kind of pressing down on them and playing with them. And it's okay to play with your food.
It is okay to play with your food. It actually makes eating and cooking much more enjoyable if you play with it a little bit.
I can smell that already, and I think it's important to also cook with all of your senses. And so you're smelling things to know if they're burned. You're smelling you're smelling a pan to know if it's hot. You know when things are ready sometimes because they make a certain noise. It's all of your senses.
Exactly. And this kind of starts that process. If you're on in your dorm room, for example, and you're cooking in your dorm room, you'll start to have people walking down the hall coming in and saying, "Hey, what are you doing in there? What's going on?" It's a great way to meet people, to build community, is to cook together.
There's
Love
something
it.
special about nourishing another human being that
I'm going to turn this up just a little bit. So we did a test one on here because we're not in this kitchen that often, and earlier the induction burner was running super hot, so I turned it down, and I've turned it down maybe just a little bit too much. So you do want it kind of like medium, low, medium to get it cooking, but you know, it's just taking me a little longer, that's all. And I can start to hear it. I'm hearing a little sizzle.
Exactly.
Probably can't hear it on camera.
We're listening for it, we're smelling it, we're looking at it.
Turning it up just a little bit more.
But I promise you, the person that knows how to cook will always have company. One of the things that food people know is that we tend to be kind of party people too, and we just enjoy socializing.
Food brings people together.
It
So
does.
I'm going to very carefully lift this up and flip it. And it's not very crispy yet on the bottom, but
It's a
I've
little
turned
blonde.
it, yeah, it's a little blonde. I'm going to let it go a little bit on the other side so that my cheese melts evenly, and then I might flip it back over to get a nice crispy crust on the quesadilla.
So what other toppings, while that cooks, what other toppings might be added to it?
So this could be as simple as tortilla and cheese, and if that's all you've got in your fridge, that's totally fine. You could dip it in a little salsa. You could eat it plain. I like to use beans. I like a good roasted vegetable and bean quesadilla. For me, that's lovely. We did the rotisserie chicken today. You could do a little bit of leftover steak. Maybe you make flank steak or other meat or beef during the week. You could save a little bit of that, slice it thinly, and that could go in your quesadilla. Shrimp are really nice in the quesadilla.
I mean, even ground beef, really,
Even ground beef.
is fine.
Things like pumpkin. So I love roasted vegetables. So if you were to put like roasted squash or roasted carrots or roasted zucchini, mushrooms would be delicious in this. So mushrooms would be a nice way to do another vegetarian one, but bringing out that umami, that really savory characteristic.
With cheese
Yeah.
is just perfect.
Now, if you're going to do mushrooms, though, you'd probably want to cook it first. So you want to cook your mushrooms. So you'd either roast them off or cook them off in the skillet so that you allow that flavor to develop and also the moisture to come out.
I imagine peppers would be fine.
Yeah.
You know, but again, we might want them cooked a little.
Because these cook so quickly, you really want to cook your vegetables. Yeah, we're still blonde. I'm going to turn it up really high, just so that we can cook this off. Because now my cheese is melted. This is holding together. My cheese is melted, so now it's just a matter of crisping up that tortilla and making it lovely.
Please notice that when everything doesn't go just perfectly right, it doesn't worry us. We're used to things not going perfectly right all the time. It's important to know you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know exactly everything is going to happen in an exactly certain way. You just have to be willing to pay attention, watch what you're doing, and remember what your goal is.
And that's a good point. I think a lot of people, when they start to cook, they follow recipes and they follow them very strictly. They see a recipe and they say, oh, it says cook for 4 to 6 minutes. So they put a timer on, and after 4 to 6 minutes, they take it out no matter what. But it may not be done, right? Your skillet may not have been hot enough, so it may not be done. So it really does take some, you have to use your judgment.
Some critical judgment, critical
Yes.
thinking, and also trust yourself. And if you don't get it just right, it's still going to be good. It's just.
My cheese is super melty, and my tortilla is not as crispy as I would
And
like.
we generally have the opposite problem.
Generally, yes. So usually what happens is you burn your quesadillas. You put it in and the skillet's hot, and so the tortilla gets really crispy and brown before everything else is melty. So we're having the opposite problem
yeah,
here.
we've erred to the side of caution, and there we have it, you know.
But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and pull it off because I have a crispy one, so I can show you the crispy one. And this is perfectly edible.
Oh, it's delicious.
It's going to be delicious. My cheese is melted, so I'm going to pull this
So that
off.
one's warmed through very well.
You can see that my cheese is melted there. Okay.
Got some good bubbling going on.
Let me turn off my stove so I don't leave the hot stove going. That's something you always have to be really careful about. And here, I'm going to pull off this quesadilla that we made a little bit earlier. Move that out of the way. So here we go. Here's our crispy quesadilla, and here is our melty quesadilla, both of which are going to be delicious. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut these into quarters because they're easier to eat. I'm going to turn this, and then we're going to plate this. and we're gonna add on some things to make this into a meal. So we have our quesadilla. If I were eating, it really depends, you know, if this was a snack or a meal, how much you would plate on here. I'm gonna go ahead and plate it all up today, okay? And we can get rid of that. And we have some extra stuff to add here. So yesterday I made guacamole. I saved a few things from there. What I like with my quesadillas to make this more of filling and something that's going to hold you for a little bit longer is I like serving them. Traditionally it would be sour cream. I tend to use Greek yogurt in place of sour cream. Just I swap it out because Greek yogurt is going to give you more protein and a little bit more of a nutritional bang for your buck than sour cream.
I use yogurt instead of mayonnaise or sour cream in a lot of things.
Yep.
And in a pinch, mixing that with milk, it becomes buttermilk in a recipe.
Yep, certainly. So I'm going to add in a little bit of my sour cream, my Greek yogurt in place of sour cream.
Nice and tangy.
I actually made guacamole, so I'm going to add in a little scoop of guacamole. You're going to see that this little treat that we're making is actually restaurant quality.
Oh, yeah.
And I happen to have some salsa, a little tin of salsa. So you can make salsa, but you can certainly just have a jar of salsa in your refrigerator. It's totally fine, and use that. We're going to add a little salsa as well. And then to really bump up our veggie factor, what we're going to do is we're going to add in some shredded cabbage. I have a little bit of red onion, okay, diced tomato, freshen it up. We have cilantro, which we'll put on last. So I've got a little cabbage. I love cabbage. I love shredded cabbage. I add it into soups. I add it on top of quesadillas. I add it into tacos because it's really crunchy. The way you handle it is usually you get rid of these outer leaves.
And cabbage is so inexpensive, too.
It is. And you know what? It'll last in your fridge. You really, for this, I need just a very tiny amount of cabbage. That's going to be my quesadilla. So I don't need much more than that. I'm going to cut that 2 ways.
That's going to fluff out.
Yep. And then I'm just going to very thinly slice it. So essentially, I'm shredding my cabbage.
Really nutritionally a better option than lettuce, you know.
Well, you know, it's good to vary it. Yeah. So I like this for this kind of thing. Certainly quesadillas could be eaten with a little side salad, and that would be lovely. But to have that nice crunchy factor.
Got a little more body to it.
Exactly. So we're going to have our,
Oh, look at that.
and then just because we have it here, we have a little cilantro.
Just to gild the lily.
Right. So here we go. Dressed up, simple quesadillas.